In this morning's Health Watch, beating throat cancer. Since his announcement last summer that he was battling stage 4 throat cancer, Michael Douglas remained steadfast in his fight against the disease, going through rounds of chemo and radiation therapy. Now, Douglas is cancer-free. A spokesperson for the actor says the tumor is gone and doctors did not detect anything else. He will have to be monitored for the next few months. Dr. Holly Phillips joins us now to talk about Michael Douglas's condition. And
Good morning, Chris.
I think the thing that strikes me is, how do you go from stage 4 throat cancer to now cancer-free? Is this common?
You know what? This is not entirely unheard of, but it still should be viewed as a huge, huge victory. He has every reason to feel victorious and to feel positive. But we also have to keep in mind he'll need to be followed very closely, especially for the next 2 years when the cancer is most likely to come back. And Chris, people who've had throat cancer are also at an increased risk of getting other cancers of the head and neck, so he'll probably be in the doctor's office at least once a month, just getting followed.
Well, let's talk about now, just the encouraging news and what this does now for his outlook.
You know what? He's been through chemotherapy and radiation, both of which he described as very, very intense. Now, chemotherapy causes weight loss, and we've seen some recent photos of him actually where he looked quite gaunt. Yeah. He says he's lost 32 pounds. He says he's lost a lot of muscle mass. So for the next few months, he'll really need to focus on building that back. And radiation can also cause some more long-term side effects, so we hope those like dry mouth and hoarseness will resolve over time.
Well, some of those side effects from the radiation and the chemotherapy, like you did mention, like the dry mouth and the loss of weight, is that something that he can, I guess, that will come back, or is it going to be kind of a tougher road?
Absolutely. Certainly with the weight loss, he's really going to need to eat right. He's going to need to exercise, follow up with his doctor. The American Cancer Society actually recommends a primarily plant-based diet, focusing on fruits, veggies, lean protein like fish and beans. He can put that right back on. Now, some of the radiation side effects, particularly the dry mouth, the hoarseness, the throat discomfort, may be more lasting. There might even be some permanent side effects, but only time will tell to see how much he can recover from that.
Now, you mentioned a few moments ago that throat cancer survivors run the risk of developing other cancers. So is there anything that he can do to avoid that?
Well, you know what? The most important things actually that we can all do to avoid getting throat cancer, number one, don't smoke. Throat cancer, 8 out of 10 people who get throat cancer actually are smokers. Now, if you drink alcohol on top of that, your risk for the cancer increases exponentially. So he'll need to stop smoking, and he'll need to also stop drinking. Other things that we can do is to try to avoid HPV. Now, that is a sexually transmitted disease called human papillomavirus, and it may be involved in about 1/4 of all throat cancers. But also, we have to not just focus on prevention, but early detection. If you suddenly feel that something is caught in your throat, you're constantly clearing your throat, you experience any throat pain, ear discomfort, those are all signs you should tell your doctor, not something to ignore and just try and tough it out.
I know this is a little different than just kind of a medical reason here, but throughout this whole process, he's talked about being a fighter and how this wasn't going to beat him. Does that type of positive energy and that positive outlook, does that also help in a recovery?
100%, Chris. Yeah. You know, really, how you go into it is what you get out of it. He was determined to beat this, and from the looks of it today, he did. Now, there will also be an emotional recovery, where he'll really have to focus on just building himself back, building his family back, but he's a survivor. He's shown us.
And it's about a 3-year period to really be deemed cancer-free, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Dr. Holly Phillips, thank you.
Sure.
Good to talk with you this morning.